What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Gravity the Beast. Welcome back to the Big Cap. No bullshit, just conversations about passions, philosophies, and perspective. Got the homies here with me. Go ahead. You already know.
You already know, Twan, your neighborhood real nigga out here.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Bash.
Finally back.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Yes, sir.
What's good? It's your boy YK. I'm hopping on one more pod. You already know.
Right.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate it.
That's a fact. All right, so today's topic is interesting. It's a topic we've been putting off for a little bit, but it's nature versus society, right? So within that topic, I know you asked me to elaborate a second ago.
Yes, please.
So the whole point being, nature and society, a lot of people like to differentiate, whereas society is created by people who deal with nature already. So, for example, on the most natural level, you're going to have a person in the woods, whatever, you got to make your own clothes, hunt for your food, something to that level of simplicity, right? But then when you take it a step further, we have society. We build civilization. Now you can go to the store and buy your food. Now you can stop believing in certain particular roles that you would naturally be inclined to do and make a choice based on the privileges of society, opposed to how things are and would naturally be. Some would argue should naturally be for long-term success.
Right.
So a lot of the times we don't really think about how much society has affected us and led us to do things that are unnatural or less successful naturally. And we just got to point out some of these different things real quick and just have that discussion. I feel like is important. So, what were your thoughts? And go around.
Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people when they talk about I feel like when nature versus society.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people attribute society for like changing nature in a way, and I know I feel like we wouldn't say you could change nature, but I feel like some people have the idea that if society is moving this way, then it's okay to be progressive. I guess it says evolution maybe or
yeah.
but I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like some things naturally work better some ways, but I feel like there are some things we could be progressive on though, and move better on, and we could better the ways that we go about nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess having that conversation is really what I want. It's having people being able to be all right, well, we know society says this one thing, but nature dictates this completely other thing. So let's try to bring that together as opposed to, picking one or the other.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, what's your thoughts?
I mean, from what you said, kind of, I think about it and pretty much come to the conclusion. Nature is something that we do naturally. It's within the word.
Right.
It's something that happens regardless of what we do. We can't help it. We can't adjust it. It just happens. Society is something that, like you said, with civilizations, is something that we create. It's something that we create and follow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because without it being in existence, there's nothing to really do. But like I said, the nature part it kind of goes back to, well, it's going to happen anyways. We can't really change it because that's how nature is. So to kind of compare the two, you got things that we're going to do anyways. And then you have society where it's things we feel like we have to do.
Yeah. I would feel you there.
So it's kind of, I don't want to jump too ahead, but a lot of people say, well, in today's society and now in society we do this because it has changed. It's not how it used to be 100 years ago, where it comes down to, it comes down to where nature is still kind of the same way. But here's the thing, society influences what we do nature-wise, because a lot of the things that we could have done before.
What you do nature-wise, or how you enact your natural instincts?
How you enact your natural instincts.
Okay.
Because basically, let's face it, we're all into what everybody does, right? That's the society we live in. Is that we're focused on this right here, but we're kind of forgetting about the shit that we did naturally, the things that came, that we can do regardless of what happens. And since we're so focused on that, well, then that kind of creates the conflict between one another, because you have people that are fully nature and you have people who are fully tied into society, and it contradicts each other because it really doesn't flow well together.
I feel you there.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Twan?
I feel like that was good because I agree I feel the same way because when I hear nature versus society, I think of influence. The influence that nature has and the influence that society has. And I feel like people who are more, it's like nature is like the Koto Amasukami. It's like you're under its influence.
Naruto reference.
Naruto reference. It's like you're under the influence of nature,
Crazy the way you just
but you don't know. It's like you're always influenced by it, but since you don't know your nature, you grow up in society, you don't know that you're under its influence because you don't know what it means.
I would argue it's the same for both, to an example, right? I feel as though your nature is just how you act. You know, it is like from the moment you're born, for the most part, you are acting within certain natural things that you do. As a baby, you do certain things naturally, you know, and then you grow up and you still act within your nature for the most part, but then it comes down to what is more successful, nature or nurture, you know? Now, when it comes to the nurture side of it, I feel like society is that second Koto Matsukami. Like when we put it in that like reference, because you don't necessarily think about your nature, you just act. But then I feel like rarely do people think about their society, they just soak it in.
Okay,
They accept it.
This is true.
It's the easier way to go.
I wouldn't even say that because, like, all right, for example, right?
It's like the standard.
It's the standard,
what
but
creates
you
the
don't
standard.
really you don't really think about it. It's like when you grow up, right? For the most part, like because even back in the day, like you said, things were a lot different 100 years ago. So it could be a new book came out,
Even last year.
you know,
COVID.
But like everything, you can see a new book came out back in the day, or maybe a newspaper article. You know, it could be something to that extent where it's just the media, it's just the entertainment, it's just the whatever they have access to, and they soak it in, and they don't understand how it could be good or bad for them. They just soak it in. And then you get older or you get into modern times where it's the movies, it's the commercials on TV, it's the magazines,
The news.
And we watch all these things and we get influenced by it, by society, you know, and you could have a better society. You could have a worse off, a poor society, rich society, whatever the situation is, conservative or more of the liberal side, whatever, right? All these different types of societies exist. But when you grow up within it, rarely do you reflect on how it's influenced you and is your beliefs right? Things that you feel are wrong, why do you think it's wrong? Certain things that trigger you, why? And a person might totally ignore the influence of something and say, no, this is the norm, this is right, this is what is, opposed to understanding that this is my standpoint, this is why I have this standpoint, this is the influences that I've had on me.
That kind of, excuse me, that kind of relates to the acceptance that people don't give to other people about their beliefs. Like how you just said, society has influenced me to believe a certain way, to see things a certain way, to think a certain way. And that kind of goes to what a lot of issues we face in today, where people don't accept other people for what they believe in. If they don't like it, they will not fuck with you, or they'll say whatever they feel about you. And that's all about society. But I feel like if people were more towards the nature side, then it would kind of bring a lot more people together, in my beliefs. Because
I feel you.
It's just, think about,
I agree with that.
Think about why people do what they do. It's kind of like how when people say children are an example of their parents. Why are we how we are today? Because of what we were influenced by our parents.
Yeah, what you taught.
We are that society of what has happened in our lifetime to who we are today. It's not nature. The only thing nature is our biology of growing up, aging, eating, going through crises in our lives as teenagers and young adults. That's all nature. But as to what we do with that is the society part that comes in to where it's kind of like what Twan was saying. That's why in today's world we use influencers like on social media. That's why they're called influencers, because they're a big part of society. That's all what society is nowadays. So it kind of goes back to what you're saying. People just go with society because it's the easiest route, because it's better for them, because they don't really have to do much. If you go towards nature, it's
See,
the same.
I would.
I feel like nature is unconscious, where society is like conscious. Like you have the unconscious and conscious mind. I feel like nature falls on the more unconscious, subconscious level of thinking, and society's more the conscious mind way of thinking.
Well, I mean, the only thing I feel about like what you said, I feel like the Kodo Masakami, I feel like that's a good analogy to give it. You know what I mean? Because it's a genjutsu that you don't know you've been placed under, and I feel like society and nature both do the same thing in those ways, because like just in turn talking about like the school system and the way you grow up, what you're taught, and then like when you get into real life and you research it on your own and you're like, wow, Christopher Columbus was a really terrible guy. Like I don't fuck with that dude. Like you know what I mean? He was not for my people or for my beliefs at all, like anything for me. So it's like
we're led to believe that he was one of the greatest people of all time without really knowing the whole story.
Discovered America,
sailed the ocean blue in what 1492. I still know that, and that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there.
That's the society we grew up in. Continue.
So, but yeah, so that goes into my point. Or I mean that goes into what I'm trying to say next. Though it's like, I feel like the difference between society and nature is that you could understand that society taught you a certain type of way and kind of break out of that cycle. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people need to get onto. And I mean, like, you know, people talk about being woke, but it's like really just truly being aware of what you were raised in, what environment you're being raised in, being aware of the entire world, not just your country or your state or your surroundings, because like that type of stuff is important. Like the way people view Americans, Black Americans specifically, like minorities, like it's just like that's important, because that's going to determine how I move throughout the entire scope of the world. Like, and people don't think about that, but also that makes me like want to start these types of conversations, because it's like you got to understand that, you know what I mean, there's a way that we're, you know, born to move, because that's the way we're born. That's the way we're born to move. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you can't dictate nature, the court, or like, I'm not gonna say the path nature has you on, but you can't dictate like how, you know, how you came, who you came out of, and how you look. Yeah. And it's just certain things.
I definitely feel you there, and I feel like when we really get into it, it's kind of like understanding where to apply certain thoughts, or when it comes to this topic at what level we kind of peep it, because it's like the way, like, and I partially disagree with what you said before, where you was talking about like on one level you feel like the nature is more unconscious whereas the society is more conscious. I would disagree and argue that it's more both. You know, I would feel both is to some level unconscious, but you realize certain things within yourself and then you can grow. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, if we have us doing certain things that we believe is right based on nature, even though your natural instincts are saying to do the opposite, we can say, okay, your nature, you're not really thinking about it because like you might feel it, but you don't really address it. It's unconscious. You're choosing not to act on it because of society. Whereas to another point, you might make that initial decision because of nature. And even though you feel like you want to do the other thing, you don't really say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go along with what I know is right.
What is an initial decision based off nature? It's like, give me an example of that.
If you're hungry, you eat.
Mm-hmm. If you go use the bathroom because you have to use the bathroom.
You see a fine girl in Walmart, you go try to get her number.
But it's like,
but then society tells you, oh, she's busy. Like don't do it now.
No. Society tells you that if she's too bad, that to not even bother because she's not gonna fuck with you.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel like that's like
no, I agree with that
because like here's the thing: if we lived in a world where it did not matter what they thought, whether or not you was good looking or not, there would be a lot of more niggas going up to women and trying to start a conversation, because what plays into their heads is to what stops men from walking up to women. But not to get too off topic, but basically it's like society has informed these men that you must look a certain way in order to get the woman that looks that certain way.
You don't think that's part nature?
It's nature to the point where if that person naturally feels that they like that other person, But what I mean by that is, if let's say, unfortunately, society puts us at where if you're big, you'll date big. If you're skinny or fit, you'll date skinny and fit. It's not always like that, but for the most part, that's what you see because society has made it seem like that. Not all the time, because there are big people that will date smaller people and vice versa.
I've definitely seen that.
Right, you'll definitely see that now.
Hold up. All right, bro. I gotta disagree. All right, so let me. I feel like at the end of the day, right? People date the best options that they have and that they can attain. When a dude looks at a woman in the middle of a grocery store, I see what you mean as far as like society to some extent, saying, "Oh, don't even approach. You got no chance. She looks like this, so you got to look like that." I could see where society might influence people to believe that. Whereas you could be a bummy guy to an extent. I'm not saying bummy as in dirty, but I'm saying bummy as in broke. Maybe you're not the most attractive person, but other aspects could compensate. Could, not would, but but potentially could compensate. Whereas society is telling them, "Don't do it. You're not enough." A lot of the times, it really is, to some extent, a guy realizing his level. Maybe he might understand.
Yeah.
But then, even deeper than that, like when we talk about like fit people dating fit people, fat people dating fat people, I feel like it's less about society and more like that fat guy would be with a beautiful girl, a beautiful fit girl if he could, but he's with another fat girl because that was the best he can get, and he chose not to be alone, and vice versa. That girl would be with a fit guy, all that extra shit, if she could, but she understands that her level is lower, so she has to get with a guy whose level is lower. And at the end of the day, if two twos find each other, then that's dandy. I mean, they could that's actually dope. Like they could just love each other and be happy, hopefully. But that two would always want the 10.
Two twos are together, they're damn sure make a good ass 4 baby.
I mean, yeah, I hear ugly people make beautiful babies.
That's
I've heard of that. But on a serious note though, because I feel like most people, and I agree to an extent where you were talking about how society might influence them to do that type of thing. But I do feel like that's nature also, because a guy is gonna want the best he can get, same as a woman.
But here's the thing that I kind of disagree myself is nature will have them like whoever, no matter how they look like.
I disagree.
Because what exactly is, like how he asked earlier, what exactly is a nature decision? Because
can I
Yeah,
interject?
To get with the guy with a six pack and get with the girl who has.
Can I
5 hips.
interject?
no, but yes,
That's nature.
I feel like we're overlooking. I feel like the thing we're overlooking with the conversation, like this situation in particular, like walking up to a girl and just asking for a number or whatever.
Yeah.
Try to spit game to her.
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like what stops most guys isn't necessarily how they like them, because they see it and they actually, you get that initial feeling to do it. I feel like what stops you is how she might react. And I'm not talking about just getting rejected, but the way girls reject niggas, that should be drawn. And I mean, it's like, honestly, in my opinion, that should be drawn. Like, there's no other way for me to put it. Like, I got to put it in my, because, like, I feel like they don't understand. I feel like women do not understand how disrespectful they come off when they try to be nice and let you down easy. I would honestly prefer, and I feel like every man in this room, and I feel like every man in this world would agree, honestly, that you just say no. Like, and I mean, I understand, like, there's reasons for that. Like, they do that because they're worried about how the guy might react after that, after the fact. Because some dudes are assholes, and they really try to, they try to press when they shouldn't.
I would argue.
Asshole men fuck it up for good men. Asshole women fuck it up for good women. It's just the fact that it's so much shit going on nowadays that you just can't tell what's what.
Serious question. Hold up. And I feel like what you just said might make it a little bit of a tangent. What do you think happens more? Guy gets turned down and goes about his business, or a guy gets turned down and attacked a woman? Well, what happens more?
I feel like the guy goes about his business more times than,
Especially now.
And
Okay,
I'm not.
but then within right?
That's not to say that that's still
So
not an issue.
I just want
But
we don't gotta get into that all the way. But the reason I say that is to say, if the response on the woman's side is to act how the way you describe a lot of women act, and the reasoning is that you don't know, some guys might attack the woman and they don't handle rejection well. If you yourself can understand that that's not the majority of the time. So why is that acceptable?
And that's what I'm saying. That's exactly how I feel. Like,
I mean, I could explain. Well, my bad. I don't want to cut you off. I'm saying I could give you my personal understanding of why I feel like that occurs more so nowadays.
So you're trying to say that it does happen more when a guy gets turned down and walks away more than he
Well,
does?
no. What I'm saying is, right, if a guy gets turned down, more than likely he's going to walk away and go about his business. If a guy gets turned down and he attacks the woman, he a piece of shit. He should suffer the consequences of doing some dumb shit.
I mean, of course.
That being said, the reason a lot more women are more disrespectful when they turn a guy down in our modern day is because of their overinflated egos based on the validation that they've received over the past decade, 2 decades, sexual revolution, and so on.
But you're also forgetting one more thing.
What?
It's either you walk away, you attack, or you respectfully keep trying. Because there are guys out there that will get rejected, but they'll still respectfully be like, but hold up, wait a minute, and then they try to keep going because they feel like in their heads they can try to make it better or make up for it because they realize they didn't go as what they planned.
Yeah.
And like I said, they might still get turned down and walk away, but I guess half the time you can walk up to a girl and if she turns you down, then you're just going to walk away respectfully.
Right.
I mean, my thing personally is just the idea of having a conversation with somebody. Like, and I understand, like, you're going into that conversation with the intention to try and get a girl number. But like, my thing is, at the end of the day, that's still just a conversation between two human beings. And that's like, I understand this is a man and a woman. So it's like not the same as if a man and a man or a woman and a woman were speaking randomly. But like, it's just, you know what I mean? If I'm approaching a girl and I'm just trying to, maybe spit some game, but just have a conversation. Like, I might not talk to you for long, but if we in a Walmart, you shopping, whatever, we might sit there and talk for like 10 minutes. And I might ask for your number. Like, or I might come off asking for your number. You might fuck with it. Give me the number. We might still keep talking. It's like just having a conversation. It's like I feel like people are kind of afraid to have conversations. Like, I'm not gonna say girls, but women.
All right. So let's not like diverge too far from the point of the nature versus society part.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying.
Yeah, because I had something really to say about that, but you're right.
But because I feel like in bringing this topic up, and the reason I talked about like the inflated ego is talking about the nature of it versus society, right?
Right.
Naturally, women want male validation in general.
Yeah.
Naturally, they want validation. So when it comes down to it,
I'll do it. I'll take it.
But but naturally,
yeah, I'll even pour it for them.
And I would say all people want validation, but it's different from a woman, and we derive validation in different ways, right? So if a guy was to approach a woman, that shows that he feels she's attractive. The woman feels good over that, right here. We could just take. Oh, well, you can pass it back to me. But the woman feels a certain amount of validation from that. Now, in our day and age, hold up, let's go. Oh.
Cheers, fellas. And cheers to you guys watching.
Facts. Viewers, take shots with us, see if you can keep up. Anyway, but
don't do that to yourself.
But within that, right?
Yeah, don't do that.
Seriously though. But within that, we in the past would give validation based on other ways that we found reasons for validation.
Right.
At one point, you ever see an old school movie type deal where a girl is dating a guy and she brings him some cookies or some shit like that? Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
A woman does something to attract a man. The man does something to obtain the woman. And then at that point, the woman expresses why she is worth keeping. The man continues to do what he can to keep her. It's just that simple 2 and 2, right? But now the man is giving the validation without requiring anything, which inflates it. That's like you got $100 and then you print $100 more, your dollar became 50 cents.
And it's so hard.
But people, I want to get through this part.
You're right.
It makes it to where the validation means less.
Yeah.
So overall, right, women still want that validation. Men still want women, but then society comes in and affects how we go about it. We give them more for less because of our influence in society, whereas naturally we feel the repercussions of it. Mm-hmm. We understand that we might not like to do certain things. We step out of our frame at like most of the time nowadays, when I say frame, I feel like most men don't even understand what that means or respect it, or they probably would push back when I describe it. But moving past that point, we have not had any type of respect from, well, let me not say any type, but enough respect from the opposite sex. We have not required enough of them. And because of that, we failed. Like, we failed to a certain extent. Now, when women look at us now, they expect more for less. And when a woman sees someone that she sees a man approach her and she's not into him, maybe time of day, emotion, mood, whatever, opposed to being more respectful, they feel less need to maintain that level of respect to someone they look at as less. And that right there, that's natural. It's fucked up, but it's only because nature allowed it to, society allowed it to be so. Whereas naturally, a woman might be less likely to be disrespectful. You know, a lot of natural things. Men stronger than women. Like, we talk about the potential of attacks to some extent, right? But we see how we're dealing with everything right now. Right. You know, like that really is like one of the key things, in my opinion, as far as like nature versus society. When we see how man goes up to woman, he questions if he could get her, instead of looking at himself in a more realistic way and saying, my value is this, I am this tall, I'm this fit, I have this much experience, I have this level of confidence, I have communication skills.
Right.
Opposed to just saying like, damn, she look bad, I can't get her because I'm not looking that great. You could be an attractive nigga in bummy clothes, get a girl. You could be an ugly nigga in bummy clothes in nice clothes, get a girl. You compensate in different ways. You could be a guy that's not the most attractive, but you dress okay and you have good talk game. Or you could be a guy who can't talk to women for shit, but you're attractive, so you just, you know what I mean?
Like, attraction does the work for you.
And at the end of the day, that's nature, right? But then how we take it, those extra thoughts that tell us to do things that we feel is like your natural instinct is saying, go talk to that girl. Society made you overthink.
I feel that.
And that's what I really wanted to dig in as far as like that example.
Does that not make it unconscious though?
What you mean?
It's like when you say nature told me to go talk to her.
No, because
you was honestly attracted to her. Like, hold up. No, because like when you said hunger, I feel like that's just the natural response. The hunger itself is the unconscious natural response for your body when you get hungry.
That's true.
Okay.
And you can use your conscious mind to go against it, but it does not change the fact that you have that natural inclination to eat or to fuck or to do what you do.
I agree. So for that example, right, to touch on to that, I would say movies, the news, that's that hunger that we see. And how we deal with it most of the time, like you could try to fight that influence that you have, but then our response is to be politically correct, is to hold back in certain ways. It's like I gave this example a while back, a couple pods ago, where I was like, the friend that I had at high school, but I liked her, but then she didn't want me, and yada yada yada. My mind was like, all right, move on, let it go. Like my instincts was that, but then I had been so influenced by everything else that I'm like, well, no, like if she just gets to know me, like, oh, like she can change her mind. Like my instinct was like, yo, move on. Mm-hmm. I didn't. But then I don't regret that because I stayed friends with her and everything was cool. Like it was a great friendship. But then I had another similar situation where not as similar, the friendship wasn't as good, but I had liked the girl and she turned me down. And I'm like, move on. Like I'm telling myself, move. Like I my instinct was to be like, all right, I'm gonna drop it. But then it's like society's like, you can't just be friends. Is she not worth anything but sex?
Bro, I hate when say that.
But
Don't get too much into that because
that's real.
That's gonna put you in a society in a situation more than just society because basically, if you take it down to why we do things, to what you were saying. Mm-hmm. And you guys can tell me if you guys agree or disagree, but do you think that eventually society will just take over nature?
Never. Nature is nature.
No.
I feel like the society that we live in now, it's like it takes advantage of nature. So
but it will never replace it.
Yeah. But it's like you got porn, fast food everywhere, shit like that. It's everything is taking advantage of your natural inclinations, but also not teaching you how to understand them.
But think about it like
Hold on,
this.
I got a quote real quick.
That was bars.
Nature evolves, society amalgamates.
Damn.
But nature evolves depending on how society does implement.
No. See, nature evolves
On its own?
on its own. It's nature. You go through things, you grow. You know, we could talk about Galapagos Island to an extent if you believe in that. Like you could look at the same species of bird, but one lives on a side with thicker trees, one lives on the side with thinner trees. The ones with thicker trees have longer beaks. The ones with the thinner trees have shorter beaks. They evolved to their environment. That's nature, right? When I say society amalgamates, it's literally influence. Now, over time, as nature evolves, you could argue that society is evolving, but we always hold on to primitive things to a certain extent. It's never really an evolution to where something becomes drastically different.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's just mixing and mixing and mixing. And the problem with society, it's all about your influence. So you could have a person that is super liberal, somebody super conservative, somebody who was raised by Nazis, somebody who was raised by freedom fighters, peace fighters, religious people. And when they come together to form society, it all amalgamates. But them within their individuals' selves, their level of influence of society, they're going to take certain things on. But naturally, they grow. Naturally, just as human beings take the influence away, we just go through things and we evolve and we learn. So that is where nature comes into play as far as just experience, where society is the amalgamation of everything. Society might be fucked up because you have one fucked up guy who was able to convince other people to agree. Whereas naturally, you're still going to believe what you believe. Whenever there's a king, there's somebody who hates. You know, whenever there's somebody at the top, it's somebody at the bottom. It's always going to be that way, and you're always going to have to work and go through things, rise and fall. That's nature, but we keep moving. Where society can be stuck in the past sometimes. Society can be way ahead into the future compared to other places. Some might be in the middle. Like you might go to Cuba and see a bunch of old-ass cars from the 50s. You might go to Dubai and then see a bunch of like Lamborghinis that's dusted over. Like they got the bread for these things. And that's where the society versus nature comes in.
Can you guys agree that nature is something that you, well, I don't want to say it wrong, but it's like nature is something that you have to let happen, but society you choose to let happen. Because nature, you can't choose what happens with nature because nature is nature, like you said.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
But with society, it's like, well, why am I seeing this? Why am I influenced to do this? Well, it's because I allowed myself to watch it, or I allowed myself to see it, or use it, or do it.
Why do you think it's like a choice in that way?
Because I don't necessarily say it's always a choice, because sometimes we can't help ourselves when it comes to society because of the who or what we surround ourselves with. Mm-hmm. Because just like I'm around you guys are influencing my day. As of, had I not been here, I wouldn't be doing this.
But what about your formative years? As in, like, from the moment you're old enough to sit in the walking chair, you don't have the remote, so you're not controlling what you see on TV. Like, when you're a child, you're not controlling who you're friends with. Your parents might got friends with kids, and then those are your early friends. Or you might got cousins. Like, you're not really in control of anything in your formative years. You grow.
I look at it as it's nature's way of preparing ourselves for society.
What do you mean?
All right. So we say nature versus society, but it's also because they both contradict each other, meaning like whatever you think is going to happen with nature could also be influenced by society.
How so?
Because we may think it's something that has to do with nature, but for all we know, it could be influenced by society. If
Is nature telling you, or excuse me, is society telling you you're hungry? Or is it your body and your natural functions telling you?
I mean, how many times have we been on Instagram and we see food and we become hungry?
I feel you there, but we're talking about the natural side, though.
No, but what I'm
I mean, and then that's even natural too, because it's like if you saw a juicy steak and you get hungry.
But why were we on there in the first place to see what we wanted to see?
But that's different because like even if we're talking
Like that's the
most
take
natural-
advantage part.
If you're
Yeah, because they're the ones showing you the food.
well, yeah, but
'Cause they
what
know
we're
you'll
talking
eat
about
it.
primitive is like literally if you're in the middle of the woods and you look at a deer as food, you might start salivating when you see that deer. And then you go grab your bow and arrow. No difference than scrolling through an Instagram, you see a burger and you start getting hungry. It's still a natural function.
I just think that, especially with today, society has taken control of so much that it's like it's going to get to the point where nature will evolve, but it's going to evolve for society's advantage.
I disagree.
Bro, we let society take control of so much already.
Yeah, but it's only because of certain people influencing it and mixing their personal whatever.
And we also
into the
allow
pot.
it.
I feel like it's beyond allowed. I feel like the way you were discussing it as an adult, totally valid, right?
Okay.
Like once you hit adulthood and you control all forms of influence, you can choose not to be on your phone. You could choose what books to read. You can choose where you work at. You can choose who you speak to, the type of acts that you enact. You can choose all these things as an adult, but I believe the formative years are the most influential into you becoming you. And then moving forward from there, those formative years could control how susceptible you are to society's influence. You grow up. You're not the one controlling the remote until you get your own room, your own TV. When you start to think and you ask questions, you speak to your parents. Now, that's the natural way. Parent teaches child. But then you're going to have certain instincts. When you, like, if you a kid, you go to school and somebody snatches your paper or they poke you or punch you or whatever, your natural instinct for men most of the time is to fight back until society tells, oh, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to tell a teacher.
That was Grav in school. Was telling the teacher.
Hey, bro, it was influence in society. But that is what it is because my grandmother told me, and it was her influences as well that led her to raise me in that way. They told me you get hit, tell a teacher. My natural instinct was to fight back. Society told me, now that right there, you have your natural that just comes out. And then you're constantly molded. It's all about the formative years. If you're acting within your nature, like in the same way they say boys will be boys, that's real. But now that's toxic. That's society's way of controlling nature. They're never going to control nature. They're never going to influence it. Boys will always be boys.
They'll just shame you for it.
And then that shame will lead
But
you
that
to
leads
act
back
differently.
to society.
No, but you will still be the same. You will still feel the inclination to fight back. Like that won't go away. Or naturally.
I think
I'll
it's
say.
a cycle. I think nature, in its own way, influences society, and society influences nature.
How does society influence nature? That's what I'm trying to get down to.
So it influences nature because, like you said, nature evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So in this,
physically,
in the sense of, all right, what's one thing that you think you do because of society today? And that goes for anybody, whatever you guys think.
Well, one thing that I think society told me was to follow your dreams. And I feel like that influenced me in a negative way.
Okay. What about you, Twan?
What society influenced me?
What do you think you do today because of society, not because of nature?
Try the speed limit. Dead ass.
Okay. What about you?
I'm backing up.
If nobody on the road, why would I not gun it?
I feel like I've tried to not fight people in certain situations because of society and not because of my nature. Because there have been some times where I really wanted to beat some people the fuck up. I've never been in a fight.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I guarantee you there's somebody watching this right now saying, yo, I'll fuck that nigga up.
Yeah,
Probably.
for sure.
Probably.
For sure.
Well,
But
bro.
that just, I think that goes with nature too.
It is.
But it's just
and
like,
that's why I asked that.
Get closer.
Because it's like it all goes back to one another.
I feel like
I feel like society becomes nature when you're not aware of nature. It's like when you grow up, like as a kid, as a baby, right? It's like
Definitely.
all you know is what you see, is what you're influenced by. That's the first thing that you got, and that presets all the rest of your knowledge. It's the reason why it's like you might grow up in an abusive household, but then pick an abusive boyfriend because all they know from young was abuse equals love.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that point there. And to some extent, you could argue that it's natural for a child to learn what they grow up around. And at that point, they start to hyperbolize the views that they gain from society over their natural views or tendencies, right? You could say that in the same way, a woman's instinct is to get with the best man she can get. But then naturally, a woman, same as any child, you're going to learn to value the opposite sex or the same sex based on your parents. So if you grew up with an abusive father, as a woman, your natural instinct is to get the best you can get, and that first man is what you would associate with that, your father. Consciously, she might be like, oh, he's a bad man, he abused my mom, but then when she chooses a guy who's abusive, it's because her natural instinct is to get the best, and the way she grew up, she had an abusive father. She might consciously say, oh, he's a piece of shit. Subconsciously, he's the guy to get with because that's who her mom got with. That's who she saw in that relationship. And she wants the best. So in her mind, society influenced her for that being the best. That outside right view picture influenced her into thinking that was the best.
That's why it's so important that we don't have all these single parent households, especially like these single mom households, because that's why the trend of niggas ain't shit is even a thing. Like a lot of these young women and young men do not even have a father to paint a picture for them to begin with.
To make that comparison.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna say, so they don't even know what type of man like they're even looking for or what to expect.
To kind of continue what you were saying, well, the both of you guys, you say that society doesn't really deal with nature, but you also mentioned about.
I'll say it doesn't like evolve nature, or like nature won't evolve based on society.
Well, would you agree that when we're kids, it's out of our control how our nature is because of our parents?
It's out of your control how society influences you, but your nature is nature.
But think about it, because at that point, we are the results of how our parents are, but our parents are the results of what? During
Their parents.
But not because of their parents, but during what's going on during that time that they're raising that kid.
So you don't see the duality there? Like, that might be what you meant when you said it's a cycle, whereas I feel like our key disagreement is what is more influential and leads, because
Sorry.
You good, bro, but just silent. But like when it comes to that duality there, it really is like, yeah, you grow up, you have natural tendencies, and then your natural tendency leads you to observe, and then society influences you and you observe. That being said, your natural tendencies don't go away. I wouldn't say it's a cycle, more so a constant battle. Not a cycle. Like, it doesn't go from here to there, here to there. It's literally nature and everything trying to bombard you with other shit. I don't look at it as a cycle.
Man, at the end of the day, I'm just going to let nature in my life take its path.
Mm-hmm.
But at all costs, stay with society.
No. Fuck that. Because as people, we influence society. We made society what it is. And when you go to other places, society is different based on those people that made it what it is. And it's all natural. We have influences, but no matter where you go, it's like you could be a Jewish person, you could be a Muslim person, you could be a Hindu person, you could be a believer in Greek mythology. Regardless of what your religion is, there are certain natural things that occur within all societies. That's observable, opposed to constantly focusing on how society influences certain things, which it does. It's heavy, you should, but nature is nature. It evolves. It doesn't just change, it evolves, it grows. Society is person to person, group to group. It can never influence nature, in my opinion.
But can nature influence society?
Always. That's how nature made society. Nature is we work
You
hard.
but you wouldn't think that nature. Okay, so even though nature created society, you don't think society holds nature up
I feel like it tries to make us ignore
as a
nature.
foundation to what people
Focus on
even
the mic.
believe in for nature. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to nature, you let it happen just because you know it's right, and then
Society says not to let it happen. Continue.
well, true, but at the end of the day, we still kind of like just say fuck it and just do it anyways.
No, not most of the time.
I mean, I do.
I feel like society teaches you how to enact your nature, whether good or bad.
Which is why it's always linked.
I'm with you there, but I had to just call Cap
Why?
because he said, "Because I do." That's where I disagree because, like, yo, you said that you lead that way where I'm like, all right, naturally. And I know you scared. You about to be scared as fuck. Naturally.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Why me?
Not you, because you got a lady right now.
Well, what does that have to do with anything?
About based on what I'm about to say.
They call cap on you, so we
Yeah.
gotta explain why.
Okay.
Y'all calling Cap
So
on
look,
me
look,
on
I'm gonna
what?
explain. I'm gonna explain. All right, so
He
Pete.
threw the flag. He about to explain.
So Pete. So you like women, right?
Yes.
You find a plethora of different women attractive, right? Get closer to the mic.
Yes.
Right. When you see a woman,
That's right.
when you see a woman, right,
Yes.
and she's unattractive, and you just walk by her, unless there's something funny about her or something, like you don't really just think, you just walk past her, right? But then when you see a woman and she's attractive, you like, damn, she bad,
Okay.
and you think about sex, right?
Sure.
Right? Now, whether you like to admit it or not, I doubt you're going to admit it right here. That's why I call Big Cap. If you see a woman that you see is attractive, you're just walking down the street and you see her, she's bad, and she came up to you with some paperwork showing that she just left the STD clinic, she's clean. Get closer. Get
I
closer.
knew he was about to come with some wild scenario.
Look,
I knew. I was
Look,
like,
it's
it's going to come
definitely
out
wild.
of my
What up?
She just pulled up to you with some STD paper. She's clean.
Right.
No worries.
No worries at all.
Okay.
And she says, hey, I think you're cute. I really want to fuck you right now.
Oh, man.
Let's say you're
What you
single.
putting your hands
I'm
up
gonna be
for?
nice. I'm gonna be nice.
I wanna know
I'm gonna
the
be nice.
answer.
I'm gonna be
Oh,
nice.
my God.
You're single. You're single in this scenario. I'm gonna be nice and say you're
Too
single.
late now. You done fucked up already.
But you're single in this scenario. Okay, so I want you to like comment on it, but me knowing you,
Shit, I want you to take this part out the video.
hey, look, that's why I said
Big Cap, no
Yeah,
bullshit.
Big Cap, no bullshit.
Shit, fuck the no
So you-
bullshit. That's some cat.
Nah, so it's like right there.
All right.
If this woman, you're in the middle of Walmart, you're single,
All right.
Okay.
and like she pulls up to you, she shows you that she's totally clean and that she's just traveling through the
First
U.S.
thing, paper that says negative, that says all disease.
Look, she's
so
she's
weird.
Totally
That'd
clean.
be weird.
She's totally clean. She just left the clinic.
How can you
Just
can't
left the
believe-
clinic.
You can't believe that.
She just left the clinic and she tells you, and it's a perfect world, right? Just perfect world scenario, right? Because it's unlikely to happen.
I feel that.
And then you get you like she tells you she down to fuck. You're gonna fuck her. You know she's clean. You know she's attractive. Everything is cool. You're single.
Listen, people
You're-
be faking
but
their vaccine
listen
cards.
to me. Look, but
Don't
I
fake
already
a
said
HIV
I already
card.
said perfect world scenario. So you can guarantee that she is clean. You're gonna go fuck that girl, and
Doss
then
wouldn't know anything
if you
about
were to go to a bar later that night, and then you see another girl, I'm like, damn, this bitch bad. Perfect world scenario. She got her paperwork too. Oh shit, she clean, and she throw you some pussy. You gonna fuck, and if the next day that happened, same exact scenario every time, you're gonna fuck every time. Now one day, you're gonna see a girl, and you're gonna fuck her, and then you're gonna think, hey, she was cool. I want to hit her up again. There's gonna be reasons why you want to hit her up again. That being said, it doesn't change the fact that you down to fuck any bad bitch that you see. You know she clean. You're gonna fuck if you have the opportunity to fuck. That doesn't mean you're gonna work for it. That doesn't mean that every girl you see, you're just gonna go out your way and talk to her and flirt with her and take her out. And every girl you see, you're just gonna try to put your dick in her at any point.
But your perfect one night stand scenario.
Not even just one night stand scenario. Because even
Or-
if it was consistent, it's like if you didn't have to work for it,
Yeah.
you would be down for any pussy you see. Come on with the phone. But you would be down for any girl you see. when you get a girlfriend, most of the time it's out of laziness from men. Unless there are other things. Like you didn't watch. Hold up, you didn't watch the most recent pod, which you should have. Women are sexual objects until proven otherwise.
I'm so glad a woman is not here to hear that.
I mean, I would love a woman to be here for that, so we can have.
I
that
hope they watch
conversation.
it.
But no, it's a fact, and that's where we really get into the discussion.
Sorry.
Women are sexual objects until proven otherwise.
Okay, so pause. That goes back to what
Take your
you
phone off
said.
the table, please.
That goes off to what you said about when a man goes up to a woman and she rejects him.
We really touching back on 2 previous episode topics: why men don't approach and women are sexual objects until proven otherwise.
Because that all has to do with society.
No. When I say women are sexual objects until proven otherwise, that's like the society made you say, "Whoa, what? We need a woman here." Nature is like, "Oh yeah, facts."
No, my nature said that there needs to be a woman here because we're talking about what women think and do.
No, that's society, because women are not honest about what women do. Men know the truth based on their interactions. Women
That's nature,
explain to men what they want them to understand or what they want to frame.
I mean, realistically, I'm not trying to be with a girl who's not trying to have sex. So I feel like that kind of just validates what you just said, because it's not, and I'm not saying that.
But is that the only reason?
No.
I was about like, damn.
I said no. I'm just saying, like, would you want to date a girl if she wasn't trying to have sex?
But I
like,
said they're sexual objects until proven otherwise.
No, I'm saying no. So this is my point.
When you got those girls
I'm
out there
saying
that
you
say
talking
that sex
to a
ain't
girl,
never
like you going to, like, you trying to talk to a girl, and I'm not saying like she got.
Can I see that?
You mean be on some shit like
Focusing to the mic. I'm listening.
I'm not saying she gotta be on some shit like fuck you on the first date, whatever. Like
Probably should though. Continue.
I mean, you know, if that's how you feel, but I'm saying that I'm not going to get into a relationship with you if I haven't had sex with you.
Right.
Like that's me keeping it 110% right now where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, if you're on,
back up from the mic when you do that. Uh-huh.
Like with that being said, it's like, you know, I guess it's real strong language, I guess, to say you a sexual object, but like. And that,
till proven otherwise, like a
till proven otherwise. My fault. You're right. It's strong language to say you a sexual object till proven otherwise. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like I'm not gonna get into a serious relationship or commit a relationship with a girl that I'm not trying to fuck.
Okay, and I'm with you there. And then the point of the statement, I understand it could be perceived as strong language, right?
Yeah.
But the point of the statement is to say every woman has a vagina. So if you think that you're not going to fuck me until we're in a relationship, you're fucked up. Because your only value at that point that you're showing is your vagina. Yeah. A man cannot be honest with a woman, like honest with a woman, until he fucks.
I feel that.
If a man is...
I think it's more of this. It's more like this. A man cannot open up to a woman until there is a connection, but therefore the connection has to be established with sex.
Society.
What you mean?
Hold up. I might
what
have
you mean?
to agree with Miho. You know why? Because I feel like post-nut clarity is a natural thing.
Okay.
It's like after you nut, you really honestly looking at this girl.
Too.
Yeah.
I can see.
Shouts out to another
How many
episode.
times have you said that during that whole episode?
But I feel like it's natural. It's like because men are naturally horny. Mm-hmm. After we smash, we're not horny no more. So we can honestly look at a woman and see her for what she really is.
I actually can agree with that as well.
Yeah, it's like
because that
Cat Williams
is already taken care of.
See, I disagree with the wording, not with the way you said it, but with the way he said it.
Yeah, see,
I'm sorry.
You gotta get the idea.
It's like he mad.
No. I get the idea, but when you start saying connection,
you know what? I'm out of here, man.
That honestly, I think that part is bullshit. When we talk about
connection,
because like when we not necessarily saying like having connections is bullshit, but the wording of it, because until proven otherwise, meaning you get to know a girl, you want to fuck her, you're not being 100% yourself. Most men. I'm not saying like niggas who have options, they like fuck it, I'm gonna just be me.
Cause you want something.
Yeah, but when a nigga don't got options, like I could sum it up and say thirsty nigga, but like different levels of thirst. You might get some pussy from time to time.
It's not even. I wouldn't even say thirsty necessarily. It's just You don't have multiple.
You don't,
Nah,
have options.
That's
This
thirsty.
is the potential. Yeah,
but I feel like
So
thirst,
some people go
thirst
back
is
to
the
their
easy
exes
word.
because they know they have a better chance.
Exactly. I was in that position. Now, when we
Okay.
when we get into it, right? It really comes down to your level of thirst. Niggas who are more thirsty than not are gonna say things they wouldn't normally say, act in ways they wouldn't normally act, do things they wouldn't normally do to get the pussy. And a lot of time we hear about women saying, "Oh, he changed up once I fucked." Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, because he's probably a nigga that didn't get pussy like that. So he wasn't being his natural self. He was trying to get the pussy. And once he got the pussy, he started acting like himself.
That's crazy.
You didn't like it.
Yeah.
Once he got the pussy, he didn't see any other reason to stay.
But see,
And
it's
feel like-
it's not as easy as that seems because we still live in a world where women say or feel that if they give it off right away,
Society.
they feel the need to like. They're automatically looked wrong because they gave it up too easy,
Society, yeah.
and then the guy now has not gotten it. But then it's like, well, is he still there, or has he gone by his natural state and stayed to see what it's really like?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, for example, you meet a girl, you get to know each other. You don't fuck on the first date, of course, but then, eventually you get to know her. You then eventually do fuck, but now that you fucked, you've also established how that person is. So it's like, from now on, are you with them because of nature? Or are you with them because you feel like you have to when that comes towards society?
See, that's an interesting way you worded it. Because, like, honestly, I've never thought about it to that extent because I kind of disagree with going about it that route.
Well, because you have to look at it this way. You might have met naturally, right? Like ran into that person. You go to Walmart and you walk down the freezer aisle and boom, you see a beautiful girl. And naturally, you went there. Mind you, you had no intentions of even meeting a girl. You literally went down to get some fucking pizza.
Uh-huh.
and her, she went down to get some fucking ice cream.
Uh-huh.
And you naturally meet. But then society kicks in because now that you have already naturally met, you take society into perspective as to how you are with each other. Because we're so accustomed to each person being a certain way in order to have sex. Because they always say within the first...
society?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they all say, oh, within the first few seconds, when a guy meets a woman, he's already thinking about sleeping with her.
That's a fact most of the time.
Right? Is that... Side note, is that nature or is that society?
Nature.
Nature, right? Okay, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
But once he's had the pussy and he goes from that, is it society or is it nature?
Nature. It
No,
depends on why
it's
he left.
society.
No.
It's society.
See,
Because listen to me.
explain-
Listen to me.
I disagree. Continue.
Listen to me.
Why I disagree.
It was nature for them to meet.
Okay.
It was nature for him wanting to fuck.
Yep.
Depending on the girl, it's either nature or society on whether or not she allows him to
I
fuck.
disagree. That's nature.
No, because
Nature.
No,
Okay.
because there are a lot of women out there who will say that they've only slept with someone because of a beneficial aspect of it.
That's actually.
That's still nature.
Wait.
No,
That
what do you-
is.
No.
Talking
What
to
do
the
you
mic.
mean, like,
because
Let me explain why it's nature.
why?
Because of hypergamy. Women are naturally inclined to look for someone better than her, for someone who can provide,
that-
someone
yeah,
who could do that.
But why do they look at it that way?
Because that is in their nature to go beyond and have somebody who's a good provider for her and her children.
Yes, but okay. This is why I go back to that whole society is a part of nature, because society has influenced that person to naturally think that way.
No.
Yes.
Continue. Twan,
Yes.
I just had to make that.
Because when you
yeah, I'm
okay,
with him
so
on that, no.
because you're with that person, like I go back to what I was saying, you naturally met that person.
Mm-hmm.
She then allowed you, because like I said, it could be either nature or society. She can either naturally be with you because she genuinely has feelings for you, or she can get with you because of society, because of what she can benefit from it.
Wait, what do you mean?
Hold up. Society does not bring the benefits.
society,
Nature
No,
is the beneficial
because
aspect
of what
of
she's
it.
seen in her lifetime that influenced her. Back to what you said about influencing. It has influenced her to think a certain way. She's done forgot about what she naturally thinks of.